guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be making our coconut cream bars in the tall and skinny mold. If that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and keep watching. So I've switched up my recipe a little bit today. I'm using a higher percentage of the shea and mango butter and a lower percentage of oil. I've had a few people asking about a more moisturizing bar, so I'm trying to switch it up a little bit and see what I can come up with. I'm also using canola oil. This is the second time I've worked with it, just because in a lot of the soaping groups I'm in, I've heard people talk about moisturizing properties of canola oil. So I'm gonna try, and I've got this batch and another, and I'll see how I feel after they've set up and I can get them tested. So I've added in my lye water and used the stick blender until the batter reached a thin trace. And now I'm adding in my titanium dioxide that I've already mixed up with water. The fragrance oil that I'm using today doesn't really discolor at all, so I'm just adding a little bit of the TD to give me kind of a creamy off-white base. Okay, so I'm using the hand whisk here instead of the stick blender just because I want to prevent the batter from thickening any more than it is right now. I'm going to attempt to do a 3 or 4 layered soap with a mica vein in between each layer. So I just want to keep the batter as fluid as I possibly can. I'm adding a little bit more titanium dioxide just to try to brighten the batter a little bit more. I also need to go ahead and let you guys know, I have never attempted to do a multi-layer pour in a tall skinny mold before. The only thing I've done in the tall skinny mold is an in the pot swirl for my unicorn bars. So just hang out with me and we'll see how that turns out. All right guys, I have measured out my fragrance oil here and I'm gonna add it into the mix. Again, I'm using the hand whisk just to keep everything as fluid as I can before I attempt this multi-layer pour in a tall skinny mold. Okay, so at this point I am looking at my soap mold and looking at the container my soap is currently in and realizing it's going to be a disaster to try to pour it in as it is. So I grabbed 4 containers and decided to split the batter evenly between the 4 of them just to make it a little bit easier to handle since the mold is a lot smaller than what I'm used to working with. Okay, so here we go. I'm getting ready to pour my first layer of soap, which actually turned out really well. Using the whisk actually kept the soap in a liquid state, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm just using half of what's in this first container here, and then I'm going to use a tea strainer and the mica powder to put the line in between the first and second layer. Okay, so here I'm using the mocha brown mica from Nature Soap, and I'm using a small tea strainer that I got from TJ Maxx and just covering the surface of this first layer. I'm trying to be as careful as I can because when you're using these tall molds where the walls are higher than usual, it's really easy for the mica powder to hit the sides and it sticks to the silicone like glue. So if you're not careful, the sides of your soap bars will end up getting smudged. Okay, so here's where things get interesting. So usually when you're pouring your second layer on top of a mica line, you would pour down like the back of a spoon, or I like to use the side of my spatula, but because this mold is so narrow, it wouldn't fit. So I thought I would try to use an offset spatula, which was great, except I wasn't paying attention to the bottom of it and ended up scraping some of the mica powder and kind of made a little dent in some of the soap. So that happened. So here we go again with the mica powder. We'll just cover the surface and wait for it to set up, then pour the third layer. So what happened here was I thought, let me just use my spatula and pour the batter in. Realized that wasn't gonna work and went back to the offset spatula. And guys, look at this. I did the entire third layer this way. I don't know why, I just make everything more difficult than it needs to be. So I'm gonna skip this part because this, literally, I did this for the whole third layer. I'm so sorry. Part of me just doesn't even want to show this, but hey, that's real life. Well, it took me long enough, but I finally figured out the easiest way to pour it into this mold. So here I am doing my final layer, and honestly, in hindsight, now that I'm watching this back, I would have gone in here with another layer of mica powder before I put the top on. I didn't think about it, but when I remake this soap to restock it, I'll definitely do that before I add the top. So I'm just using a spoon and dropping the remaining soap mixture to the top of this soap. I kind of want it to be pillowy, kind of fluffy, make it a little bit taller than it would be without it. So that's how I'm gonna go about doing this. This is one of my best purchases so far. This is a glitter sprayer from Nurture Soap, and I added the light gold mica from Brambleberry to it. I like using this for the top of the soaps because it kind of puts like a thin layer over the surface, whereas using the little mesh strainer, it's kind of, it's more dense and it kind of comes out in like speckles, so you can see it's more defined on the surface. This is just a general overall coating, so I'm super happy with that. Now that I've got that finished, I'm going to push it to the side and get ready to fill the second mold, which I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to give you guys a close-up here so you can see what the mica powder looks like in the glitter sprayer. It's a completely different look from the tea strainer. I think it's really pretty. I like it a lot. So I'm getting ready to cut this loaf into individual bars, and I said it in my last video, I will say it again, I have to invest in a soap cutter because this part makes me so nervous. Anyway, let me show you guys what the bars look like on the inside. Okay guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today while I worked on this new recipe. Overall, I'm pretty excited about it. When I restock these bars after I sell out of these, there are probably a few cosmetic things that I'm gonna do differently. But as far as the overall recipe, I'm really pleased with it. I tried a tester this morning and the lather on this one is so creamy and rich, where my original bars are more just light and fluffy. So I think the people who are requesting a more moisturizing bar, I think they're really gonna like it. So as soon as those are ready, they'll be uploaded to my website. If you guys follow the link in the description to my online store, at the very bottom of the page, it gives you a place to enter your website. Your website. It gives you a place to enter your email. And if you do that, I will add you to the list. So when new products are added to my store or when old products are restocked, you'll get a notification. That way you can purchase them whenever you want. So have a great weekend and I will see you guys soon.